Chinese automakers just became the world's largest vehicle exporters, and most people still picture cheap knockoffs. That era is over, and the numbers are brutal for legacy brands. But there's one market they still can't crack, and the reason reveals exactly how much real power they actually have. Leapmotor is the wild card nobody saw coming. It's a Chinese EV startup that made headlines not for a flashy launch event, but for closing a deal with Stellantis, the conglomerate behind Jeep, Peugeot, and Fiat, to sell its vehicles through Stellantis dealer networks outside China. That's a legacy Western automaker becoming the distribution arm for a Chinese EV brand. Leapmotor's name means nothing to consumers in Europe or Latin America, and Stellantis dealers already have full lineups to push. But the access to dealer infrastructure, regulatory expertise, and compliance networks compresses Leapmotor's market entry timeline by years. The deal raised an immediate question analysts are still debating: who is actually using whom? Zeekr is Geely's premium EV brand, and its existence exposes a strategy that repeats across this entire list. The same parent company, same platform, same engineers, same battery agreements, launches multiple brands at multiple price points. Zeekr targets buyers willing to pay near luxury prices for a fully electric vehicle, competing directly against European alternatives. The hard argument against it: premium brand trust takes years, sometimes decades to build, and Zeekr has almost no heritage. The argument for it? Zeekr can reference the Geely-Volvo technology lineage without being Volvo, which turns out to be a credible engineering story in markets where buyers actually research before they buy. Li Auto solved a problem most EV-first brands ignore entirely. What happens when there's no charger available? Its answer is the extended-range electric vehicle, a large battery pack backed by a small combustion engine that acts only as a generator, never driving the wheels directly. The result is a vehicle that runs on electricity under most conditions but doesn't strand its driver. Li Auto has dominated the large family SUV segment inside China, making it one of the few brands where domestic dominance came before any serious export push. The hard moment is structural. As charging infrastructure densifies globally, the core advantage of the EREV format shrinks. Li Auto has already announced pure electric platforms for future models, which suggests the current approach is a calculated bridge, not a permanent identity. XPeng is the software argument made physical. The brand's identity is built around advanced driver assistance and in-car AI, developed in-house and updated continuously over the air. In a list where battery cost keeps appearing as the dominant competitiveness lever, XPeng is the entry that bets on code. The open question it raises, and hasn't fully answered, is whether software advantages built and validated inside China can transfer cleanly into markets with different data governance rules. Features legal in China may require modification or may be unavailable elsewhere. Hard moment: ADAS regulations vary sharply by jurisdiction, creating a patchwork of what XPeng can actually offer market to market. Rescue moment: XPeng's investment in proprietary chip development reduces its dependence on external suppliers and positions it for faster iteration cycles than competitors buying off the shelf. NIO doesn't compete on price. That alone separates it from most entries on this list. The brand targets the premium segment with a service model centered on battery swapping, stations where a depleted pack is physically replaced with a fully charged one in a few minutes, bypassing the charge time objection entirely. NIO has expanded this network into parts of Europe. The question the swap model raises is whether infrastructure that NIO controls in China can be replicated in markets where NIO doesn't control the real estate, the grid connections, or the regulatory approvals. Hard moment: building and operating swap stations is capital intensive, and NIO has faced serious financial pressure, requiring large external capital injections. Rescue moment: if the model scales, it addresses range anxiety in a way no charging-only network can match at the same speed. Great Wall Motors runs two international identities for two different audiences. Haval is the pragmatic SUV brand, space, durability perception, competitive pricing, with established presence in South Africa, Australia, and Latin America. Aura is the EV brand, and it took a completely different bet. Retro cute design, young urban buyers, a vehicle that looks unlike anything else in its segment. The Aura Funky Cat generated genuine press attention in Europe for exactly that reason. Hard moment. Aura's European. Expansion stalled. The brand pulled back from several Western European markets by 2023 and 2024, citing costs and demand that fell short of projections. The quirky positioning drew attention but couldn't convert it into sustainable volume at the price points the market required. Rescue moment. Haval's existing distribution base in emerging markets gives Great Wall a stable foundation to work from. And Aura's retreat from Europe doesn't close the door on markets in Southeast Asia and the Middle East, where the value proposition lands differently. Chery is the largest Chinese automaker most Western consumers have never encountered, and that gap between size and recognition is itself a story. Chery has been exporting vehicles longer than most of its domestic peers. Its presence in Latin America and the Middle East predates the current export wave by years. The brand now operates under a layered architecture that includes Omoda and JQ as international sub-brands targeting different buyer expectations around design and feature sets. The competitiveness lever is straightforward. Manufacturing scale and pricing built for markets where total cost of ownership matters more than badge prestige. Hard moment. A dense brand architecture can be confusing, and some markets have seen inconsistent dealer support. Rescue moment. Years of export experience have produced logistics networks and regulatory knowledge that brands entering international markets for the first time are still building from zero. MG is one of the stranger brand reversals in automotive history. It was a British sports car nameplate, dormant, stripped of manufacturing, before SAIC acquired it and rebuilt it as a mainstream EV and crossover brand. The MG4 electric hatchback received substantive positive coverage from the automotive press in Europe, not just for its price, but for its driving dynamics. That distinction matters because it shifts the conversation from cheap alternative to actual competitor. Hard moment. The badge carries layered recognition problems. Older buyers remember it as British, younger buyers may not connect it to any heritage, and neither group necessarily associates it with China until they look closer. Rescue moment. In markets where the badge's origin is less loaded, MG has moved volume that established brands have struggled to counter at similar price points. Geely is the conglomerate that rewrote what a Chinese automaker could own. The acquisition of Volvo cars in 2010 was treated in much of the Western press as a curiosity. It turned out to be a platform and technology accelerator. Geely and Volvo co-developed the compact modular architecture, which now underpins vehicles across multiple Geely brands, including Polestar and Lynk & Co. The pattern that appears repeatedly in Geely's international strategy is using established brand equity, Volvo's in particular, as a trust bridge into markets where the Geely name carries little weight. Hard moment. Managing a portfolio of brands across wildly different market positions is expensive and organizationally complex, and some sub-brands have struggled with identity clarity. Rescue moment. The shared platform means engineering investment flows efficiently across the entire group, and each brand benefits from development costs divided across a much larger total volume. BYD sits at the center of every serious conversation about Chinese auto exports, and the reason keeps returning to one fact: the company makes its own batteries, not just purchases them, designs the chemistry, manufactures the cells, and supplies them both internally and to other automakers. The blade battery is engineered so the cell itself carries structural load, allowing for a more compact, lighter pack. BYD sells across a wider price range than any other brand on this list, from the Seagull Compact, priced so low that analysts in Europe and Latin America use it as a benchmark for how far price compression can go, up through the Han Sedan and the ultra-premium Yangwang sub-brand. Expansion is active across Southeast Asia, Latin America, and Europe, with local assembly operations announced or underway in multiple countries. Hard moment. Brand recognition outside China remains limited, and several early market launches moved slower than projected. Rescue moment. Local manufacturing reduces import tariff exposure and signals long-term market commitment, which is exactly the message that regulators and skeptical consumers in new markets need to hear before trust starts to build. The price compression is real, the battery moat is real, the software-defined vehicle push is real, and the US market, almost entirely free of Chinese badges, is not insulated from any of it. Tariffs blocked the cars. They didn't block the battery materials, the supply chain components, or the technology licensing flowing through third-country joint ventures. The influence is present. It's operating one layer below where most people are looking. The open question isn't about technology anymore. Chinese automakers have largely resolved the technology argument in the EV segment. The question is about ecosystem control. Who owns the software stack running on millions of connected vehicles? Who holds the data those vehicles generate? And what leverage those positions create over time as battery and software leadership consolidates rather than spreads? Which outcome is more likely to define the next decade? Chinese automakers becoming normalized global players whose origin becomes as commercially irrelevant as a television's country of assembly, or the current regulatory friction and tariff escalation hardening into a permanent two-block automotive world where technology, standards, and supply chains diverge and never converge. There's a lot more to this story. Another video is already queued up. It goes deeper into the market shift that's reshaping the industry faster than most people realize. It's worth staying for.